All right, guys, so we just asked ChatGPT a bunch of hypothetical questions, assuming my model could be true, and it gave some very interesting answers. So let's see what it says, guys. So this is what I said to ChatGPT. I said, let's say hypothetically that the northern lights surround the giant magnetic mountain, Mount Zion, on a flat earth, and that's why the northern lights are magnetic. So here's what it says. Yes, as a hypothetical flat earth Mount Zion model, you could construct that interpretation. It helps to separate the internal logic of the model from what established geophysics says actually causes auroras. Established geophysics, my ass, guys. But yeah, let's continue. Suppose the model has a giant magnetic Mount Zion at the geographic center, which isn't the center of the entire model. You know, it's just north, basically, guys, outside the dome, right? With the northern lights forming a luminous region around it. The model could work conceptually like this. Mount Zion equals a central magnetic source / pole, which would be the North Pole. The mountain produces or concentrates an enormous magnetic field with its strongest magnetic influence in the central northern region. And another point, compass needle points toward Mount Zion. In this hypothetical model, what we call north would essentially mean toward the central magnetic mountain. A compass aligns with the mountain's magnetic field. Aurora, visible manifestation around the magnetic region. Electrically charged particles would interact with the mountain's magnetic field, because remember, guys, it's a magnetic mountain that the compass dial is attracted to. The field could guide those particles into the atmosphere surrounding Zion, producing a circular or crown-like auroral region. Auroral ring around Zion. Rather than the aurora being centered around Earth's geomagnetic polar region, as in conventional geophysics, your model would interpret the aurora oval as a ring surrounding the central mountain. Okay, stronger activity equals brighter aurora. Changes in incoming charged particles could cause the surrounding auroral ring to expand, contract, brighten, and develop the moving curtains associated with the northern lights. There's one important connection to the wording, though. The northern lights themselves wouldn't really be magnetic. Even with your hypothetical model, a more physically coherent description would be that the charged particles producing the northern lights are being controlled by Mount Zion's magnetic field. The visible green-red is electromagnetic radiation, not a giant magnet. So the proposed chain would be magnetic Mount Zion causes a magnetic field surrounding Mount Zion, causes charged particles guided along that field, causes collisions with atmospheric gases, which causes a glowing auroral ring around Zion. That gives your model an internally consistent explanation for why Compass North and the Northern Lights would both be with the same central region. Think about it, guys. Northern Mountain, Northern Lights. Mount Zion is the northern mountain, is true north, and the northern lights surround that mountain. Even the Bible talks about that in Revelation 4:3, which I'm about to talk about. The major scientific question would be whether a central magnetic mountain can reproduce the actual measured compass directions, magnetic inclination dip, field strength, auroral locations, and their changes with latitude. Those measurements give us ways to test this hypothetical model rather than simply assuming either geometry. Okay, next thing. So I asked another question. Could Revelation 4:3 be a potential biblical explanation of this phenomenon? Revelation 4:3 says there is an emerald, in parentheses, green rainbow surrounding God's throne. What if this emerald green rainbow is the northern light / aurora borealis surrounding God's northern mountain, Mount Zion? Yes, as a speculative biblical interpretation, Revelation 4:3 can be connected to the model you're describing. There are some striking thematic parallels. But Scripture itself never explicitly identifies John's rainbow with the aurora borealis, so that last step would be an interpretation rather than something the text directly establishes. Revelation 4:3 describes God's throne and says, a rainbow surrounds the throne with an appearance like an emerald. Since emerald normally evokes green, the image can certainly bring to mind the green glow of an aurora. With your hypothetical cosmological reading, the pieces could be connected like this. God's throne is Mount Zion. Several biblical passages associate Zion with God's dwelling or kinship. Psalm 48:2 is particularly interesting for your interpretation, because it describes Mount Zion as being in the north in the King James Version. And in other translations, it actually says in the far north, which also supports my model. Next point, the emerald rainbow equals aurora borealis. Revelation 4:3 describes something surrounding the throne and compares its appearance to emerald. Your hypothesis would identify this with predominantly green northern lights. Round about the throne in an auroral ring. This is perhaps the most visually interesting part of the comparison. Auroral activity frequently forms an auroral glow around Earth's geomagnetic polar region. In your model, that could be interpreted as a luminous phenomenon surrounding the central northern Zion. So it's essentially a rainbow surrounding the mountain, which is Aurora Borealis, northern lights. Magnetic north equals Zion. If your hypothetical Mount Zion were also the central magnetic source, compass needles pointing north and auroral activity concentrating around the northern region would become two aspects of the same proposed system. God's glory is the visible atmospheric phenomenon. Biblical descriptions of God's presence repeatedly employ brilliant light, fire, clouds, rainbows, and radiance. Under your interpretation, the aurora could represent one of the visible manifestations associated with that glory, which is God's glory. That produces a fairly elegant internal picture. Mount Zion in the north, God's throne upon associated with Zion, an emerald green luminous rainbow surrounding the throne, and the green aurora surrounding the northern center, which is the mountain. So that's pretty cool, guys. That's about it for all I wanted to read today. And yeah, hope you enjoyed. I think it's really interesting to think about a magnetic mountain in the north with the northern lights, Aurora Borealis, surrounding this mountain. And because this is a magnetic mountain and it's public information that the northern lights are magnetic, that further supports my theory. So hope you enjoy, guys, and have a great day.